continues. I shall repeat. This is about the battle of the soul. The battle of deception versus the truth. The battle versus light versus darkness. The battle versus good versus evil. The battle versus wickedness versus righteousness. For us that understand nothing is going wrong, everything is going accordingly to the schedule of prediction. As sad as it may be, this nuclear explosion of this division and strife and conflict, such as so-called atheism, versus Christianity, which is just a term which comes from the word Christos, which really represents people of color that was thrown to the lion and the tigers during the time of 64 AD, during the time of Nero Caesar, which have not been explained correctly. This battle between Egyptology, versus disrespecting the same supreme creator of the universe that the Andes and the Mayans spoke about, with high honor, has already been written that this would come upon us in these times. This whole plagiarization game that a lot of our people, have took on, this deception which they adopted from that Zeitgeist DVD, because the term plagiarization is not a term that we use inside our vocabulary or vernacular. So where did this term plagiarization came from? It came from that Zeitgeist DVD, and it was foretold that a lot of people of our nation and the other nations will be seduced by these deceitful Gnostic lies. It's the same old Gnostic game that they ran in the 1st and the 2nd century, disguised as atheism, such as mixing atheism with nationalism. This is confusion, but it was foretold that this was going to happen to us. You see, pride and arrogancy will always lead you to this high-minded madness where you have men going to and fro saying the same thing that Nimrod once said, that there's no greater power than man. This is nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun, and it's sad. It's very sad after all the things we've been through as a nation and still are going through as a nation in this 21st century. And a great percentage of people, basically what they're doing, they put these DVDs inside these DVD players and they regurgitate the information like a cow regurgitating grass, and then they repeat what they heard off that DVD, just like a Star Wars R2-D2 robot. And it's not going to be beneficial in the final outcome, because you have to be your own private detective and your own private investigator, because there's a flood of lies being released north, south, east, and west to make the people think that this has something to do with the word Christianity and religion. Those are just two terms that was used to distort, twist, and contaminate the true understanding pertaining to what this really entails. The word religion just comes from a Latin word religio, religiere, which means keep back, hold down, and restrain. I will repeat once again. The word Christian just comes from the word Christos, which was a false identity that was falsely put upon our ancestors that were being persecuted in the Roman Empire. People are not telling the truth. And as sad as it may be, it was already foretold that a lot of people of our nation and the other nations, that they would resurrect and revive these same old Gnostic 1st and 2nd century games, such as the Manichaean Gnostics, such as the Valentine Gnostics, such as Marcion. He was a wicked brother, and he went out his way to create all these mythology and folklore fairy tales to fight against the creator of the universe, and he went to mislead other brothers and sisters inside that satanic, heretic, demonic, satanic doctrine. And that's all the people are running with in this 21st century. And it goes beyond the Gnostics. It goes back to Babylon. It goes back to Sumer. It goes back to Cain. It goes back to the ancient invisible demon, which people do deny does exist. That's what the movie Paranormal Activity was demonstrating to us, showing us that there's forces beyond the physical that can incarnate inside the mind of man, woman, and child, and use them as a vessel to commit evil such as murder or deceive the people with lies and deception. Just like it says in Ephesians chapter 2 verse 2, wherein time past You walk accordingly to the course of this world, accordingly to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Just like Cain, he practiced the same order. Just like wicked, evil Nimrod, he practiced this same evil order of teaching the people that there was no greater power than man. Everything is being recycled in the earth from the past. This is nothing but recycled wickedness, disguised under the term of atheism or the terms Gnosticism. The scrolls of Philip, explain exactly the situation of this matter, which we're discussing here today, which they claim was pretty much written in Syria around the second half of the 3rd century, which states how there are powers. These powers are referring to these ancient, evil, satanic, invisible demon forces, which the movie Paranormal Activity demonstrate that situation of the matter. The powers wanted to deceive men because many are deceived. When Zeitgeist put that video out with that plagiarization Horus game, that twisted a lot of brothers and sisters' heads around, just like Linda Blair in The Exorcist. A lot of people rather die before they acknowledge that they're wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If you're right, you're right. But at the end of the wire, the truth shall stand. The powers wanted to deceive men, since they saw that he had a kinship with those that are truly good. They took the name of those that are good and gave it to those that are not good, such as this plagiarization game, where they're claiming that this information is a replication of that information. And if you sit down and do your own homework and your independent research, and if you travel, to different countries and analyze things for yourself, you'll see that these men are lying. They're nothing but liars. They're deceiving the people. Just like Nimrod deceived the people. Just like the Samaritan kings deceived the people. Just like some of the Egyptian kings deceived the people. Just like some of the wicked Israelite kings in ancient times deceived the people. Just like many of the Greeks, they deceived the people. Just like Harold Camping, he deceived the people when he made up that false prophecy claiming that May the 21st for 2011 was supposed to be the end of the world. Cursed be man that trusts in man. So let us continue with this testimony of a brother Philip that they said was recorded in Syria, who warns us about this situation and this circumstance concerning this nuclear explosion of lies. The powers wanted to deceive man since they saw that he had a kinship, because this is a battle for the soul, to mislead as many people as possible, to set them up for some serious, horrific judgment. Though it be told, many will not believe. With those that are truly good, they took the name of those that are good and gave it to those that are not good, so that through the names they might deceive him and bind them to those that are not good. That's exactly. They're using reverse psychology. They make an evil look good and good look evil. These things they knew. They wanted to take the free man and make him a slave to them forever. That's exactly what this is all about. An enslavement to lies and deception and evil. And at the end of the road, there's some serious consequences. There are powers which contend against man. And these powers, these forces are operating inside the physical vessel of man and woman. These invisible satanic demon forces, have dispatched their agents and lieutenants, north, south, east, and west, to deceive and mislead as many people as possible. This is what this testament of Philip is warning us. There are powers which contend against man's mind, battling against his soul, to make him or her believe that there's no greater power than man of immortality status. To make him and her to believe that the whole definition, how creation was brought into existence, was rather through an explosion or some simple Simon folklore fairy tale mythology called mutation. And that's supposed to be the explanation how this earth, which is spinning in space for thousands and thousands of years, that's the definition and the understanding how this earth that's spinning in space was brought into existence. That's total foolishness. Just like it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14. But the natural man is a proud, arrogant man or woman who think they know it all. And I don't know it all. But the natural man receives not the things of the Spirit of the Creator, for they are foolish unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. And when you're talking about spiritual things, you're talking about things that's beyond the average, things that's beyond the physical, things that's dealing with higher depths, things that's coming from a higher, different dimension. Just like there's many different dimensions in the outer stratosphere. Just like there's different levels in the sea world. Earth is only one dimension. But it was already foretold by the ancient, real, true prophets. We're not talking about no fake prophets. The real prophets, because there were visionary prophets in ancient time that spoke about this day that we are approaching in this 21st century concerning this nuclear explosion of deception. Sad as it may be, it was written, so it must be fulfilled. How many will fight against the true authority of all creation. But at the final end, they shall lose this battle. Like I always say, if that philosophy is so superior, take that philosophy and create your own earth and get off this earth. Take that Gnostic, that atheist philosophy, and create your own water. And stop using the resources that was created by another creator. Because this is an expression of creativity. Create your own cotton. Create your own rubber out of thin air. And create your own shoes. And concerning this Gnostic sect, okay, these were people of color. Also, they had different Gnostics, okay, of the other nations. But particularly the Valentinians, whose leader was Valentinus. He was a demonic devil of lies. Valentinus himself, founder of one of the main schools of the Gnostics, speculation, which represents lies, deception. They were following the same path of Nimrod. Valentinus, he was born in Egypt around 100-110, educated in Alexandria, which was in Egypt, and taught in Rome between AD 135 and 160. He and his disciples, Ptolemaeus and Marcus, were heads of the school of the Valentinians' doctrine, a heresy, which is the same situation that Colossians chapter 2 and 8 has warned us about. Be aware, lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit after the traditions of men. This is the same tradition passed down from Nimrod down to these wicked Israelites who were known as Gnostics, that began to create these folklore lies of vain deceit after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after the king of victory, which infuriated the Orthodox Christians. These were brothers of color, that was falsely called Christians, which comes from the Greek word Christos. Particularly Irenaeus, that's one of our ancestors. That was a brother who was battling against these satanic, Gnostic, satanic sects, who complained that each day one of those Valentinians invented something new, just like this plagiarization lie, just like this false folklore definition lie pertaining to how they're saying that all existence was created through the concept of mutation lie. So Irenaeus, this is one of our forefathers, he was a brother. He was battling against these deceitful heretics, okay, these so-called plagiarization liars who are known as the Valentinians, who were following the same path of Nimrod, disguised under the term Gnostics. And they began to send out their disciples to deceive people, to twist the interpretation, okay, of the Almighty Father upside down, to make evil look good and good look evil. Eventually, Valentinus, the leader of this sect of Gnostics, okay, and his followers, had to be expelled from the church. For in reality, they reverse all the main tenets of the Hebrews and the Christians, which these are really Hebrews. Okay, that was just a false title that Rome gave the Hebrews, Christians. So it says that Valentinus and his followers, okay, like it says in St. John chapter 12:43, they love the praise of men more than the praise of the Almighty Father. This is what you so-called black atheists are following. They reverse all the main tenets, meaning the principles and the true understanding, okay, of the Hebrews. This is what this demonic satanic devil by the name of Valentinian, okay, this is the folklore 666 doctrine that he was promoting. Valentinian's speculation. The sins of the world, our errors. Let us continue our spirit trapped in ignorance, darkness. This is what this evil satanic demonic Gnostic by the name of Valentinian was promoting and teaching and deceiving and misleading people in matter, he said, are directly caused by the Creator supreme being of the Jews and the Christians, who are the same people, okay, which Jew is a perverted translation. Basically, what he was saying, that the Creator of the universe is responsible for all this evil that man is executing on this earth. The Creator of the universe is responsible, okay, for the Canaanites having sex with animals. Even though man and woman was given the correct instructions how to live life, even though they rebelled against those principles. The same way this universe is created with rules and regulations. Like it says in Ecclesiastes chapter 7:29, lo, this only have I found, that the Creator had made man upright in the beginning with moralistic values. But they have sought out many inventions, just like the evil, rebellious, satanic Canaanites that's recorded in Deuteronomy the 7th chapter, who went under the name of the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, who set up this stupid satanic idol, which they classified to be the god Baal, which they said this idol is responsible for controlling the weather and responsible for the survival of man and responsible for bringing the rain out of the sky. And when we go further into the whole historical research of the evil, satanic, ancient Canaanites that's recorded in Deuteronomy the 7th chapter, we get more clarity in understanding why the Almighty Father told Joshua to destroy all the Canaanites because of the things that they were doing, which they never explained to the people. They give the people partial understanding. Here's an example of the Canaanites' belief system in ancient times. Evidence indicates that Canaanites live in the morbid, dread, of their priests. Marriages and families, they were shattered by their practices. They were destroying marriages. This is their belief system. This is why the Most High told Joshua to destroy them. And the unwanted children of these unions, meaning a woman that gets pregnant, were often slaughtered, meaning killed, on the altar to Baal or Dagon, just like their idol that I just showed you, which is supposed to be responsible for making the rain come out of the sky. Sexually transmitted diseases was likely epidemic. Rape was perhaps as common as it is, in the worst of today. They were raping their own women. The ancient Canaanites in Deuteronomy the 7th chapter was really savage and caveman, barbaric, beastly, war-ravished nation. Accordingly to Merrill F. Unger, excavation in Palestine, which they once dwelled in the Gaza Strip in Palestine, just like the Philistine. They used to inhabit that area in Palestine during their excavation, have uncovered pile of ashes, remains of infant skeletons in cemeteries around heathen altars, which is a symbol of human sacrificing, burning little babies up alive to worship some stupid idols, yes, the Canaanites, pointing to, the widespread practice of this cruel abomination. Archaeology in Old Testament, 1964, page 279. Haley Bible's Handbooks. 1964, page 161 says Canaanites, they worship by immoral indulgence as a religious rite. So this was part of their lifestyle, immorality. In other words, if you had a wife, your wife had to participate in this stinking Canaanite orgy to worship this stupid idol in the presence of their gods, which was a stupid hunk of clay. That ain't no different than worshiping somebody's toenail. And then by murdering their firstborn children. This is what the Canaanites were doing in the book of Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter. As a sacrifice, to these same gods, which was nothing but a hunk of clay, a stupid, dumb idol. They was burning up newborn babies alive. And the supreme creator did not tell the ancient evil Canaanites to do what they were doing when they were in the land, which is known today as Palestine. They took it upon themselves to do all that evil, just like the Assyrian Empire. That's recorded in Isaiah the 14th chapter and the 24th verse. The creator of hosts have sworn, saying, surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass. And as I have proposed, so shall it stand. 25th verse, that I will break the Assyrians in my land. For what reason? Look at what the Assyrian Empire was doing. Okay? And they had their own choice of free will. And they knew the difference between right and wrong, but they chose to ignore it concerning righteousness. So we can understand the same way when we see, okay, a red light, we stop when we drive in our motor vehicle because we know it's the right thing to do. The Syrian policy was to deport conquered people to other lands, to destroy their sense of nationalism and make them more easily, okay, subjects. Assyrians, worst of them all, they built their state on the loot of others. They used to rob people, overthrow people, okay, conquered people. They practiced cruelty. They skinned their prisoners. In other words, they would rip your skin off your body while you was alive. Just like the Mayans, they took on the same practice. That's why the Most High brought down the Mayan Empire, which they knew better. Or cut off their hands, feet, their ears, or put out their eyes, or pull out their tongues, and made mounts of human skulls, all to inspire terror. And then we wonder why all these empires was punished. And then as the satanic evil Gnostics, not all of them, because some of the Gnostics was righteous, but the evil Gnostics like the Valentines, the Manichaeans, okay, Marcion, they chose to blame the Creator for man's evil action. And this is the same game that people are playing here today. Nobody forced this woman to do this. She took it upon herself to do this, to run a spike through her tongue, which is a shoot off where this tongue piercing is coming from. Nobody told this guy to eat a baby fetus like he's eating a lamb chop. He took it upon himself to eat a baby fetus. Okay, before we got so brainwashed, okay, when we was originally given the right instructions how to live life, nobody told us to smoke those cigarettes. But now when we got to get our ligaments amputated, we want to blame the Creator. After all the examples have been given, the repercussion, what comes from smoking a cigarette. But going back to the Valentine Gnostics, okay, and going back to Acts 1 and 6, when the apostles asked the King of Kings, okay, will he restore the kingdom at that time? And there was many other brothers and sisters in different sects, okay, looking for the restoration of their world, their kingdom, their sovereignty. And when it didn't come to pass, this would took place. This would happened, which this so-called atheist game is following this same, okay, protocol of the Gnostics, who are following the same evil lies of Nimrod. Grant suggests that Gnostics, they arose among ex-Hebrews because of the failure of Hebrew apocalyptic hope. In other words, they were looking for the deliverance, okay, of the Messiah to take them out of Roman captivity over 2,000 years ago. You see, the people were waiting for the Messiah for divine intervention to deliver them and put them into their own kingdom and take them out of the hardship. During years when the Romans burnt the temple and drove the populace into exile, the failure of their expectation of being delivered over 2,000 years ago, this would happen among these Gnostic sects, which is recorded in the Gospel of the Truth, the Valentinians' speculations. Their expectation provoked a turn away from the apocalyptic customs, not Judaism, okay, they turn towards inward speculations. That's what you so-called atheists are doing here today. There's nothing new under the sun. Hence, the Hebrew Gnostics speculations. They begin to make up folklores and fairy tales and lies and deception, and they begin to assemble themselves in these demonic man-made temples and deceive the people to create all these witchcraft three-card Mali lies. And this is an example of the tactics of the evil Gnostics, not the righteous one, that they're still using here today. The Gnostics, they flourished in Egypt and Western Asia between 250 BC in AD 400. It was a theosophic, And this is exactly what Helena Blavatsky was following, because the Gnostics was way before Helena Blavatsky. This is nothing but recycled wickedness over and over again. It was a theosophic movement made up of elements of Egyptian mythology, because they was mixing the Egyptian mythology, Indian metaphysics, Judaism, which really represents, the Hebrews' customs, and Greek philosophy. This is the same thing that Dr. York did. Gnosticism was overwhelmed by the Hebrews in the 4th century. That's why it states in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 28, strive for the truth unto death, and the Most High Creator shall fight for thee in the midst of this supreme deception, this flood of lies. Jeffrey Burton Russell, he makes a good point pertaining to the situation of this matter. Jeffrey Burton Russell, he states, he says, the pagan gods were not mere illusion, but actual demons. Yeah, let's give Baal some visitation rights. Hey, what's up, Baal? They told me that you was the god that controlled the rain that come out of the sky. We need your help in Ethiopia and Kenya, Baal. There's a famine. The babies are dying. They're starving. The crops are not growing because you're not sending down any rain, Baal. It's a bunch of foolishness, man. What's up, Shiva? They said you can create life and you can take away life. Well, I need you to resurrect my great, 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 great grandfather, because I got some questions I want to ask him, Shiva. It's a bunch of foolishness, Shiva. This ain't no different than somebody worshiping a dead dog on the street corner. So you see, that's what this is about. When the so-called atheist is talking about the pantheons, you're talking about worshiping your TV, or worshiping your shoe, an idol, or worshiping the toilet bowl. Okay? The pagan gods were not merely illusions, but actual demons, servants of devils, devoted to blocking the work of the King of Victory. You see? Let us continue. This is nothing but a myth. We're inspired by demons, because this is connected to the demon worlds, to mock the King of Victory, to make people believe that the Hebrews were merely copying the pagan gods, which is dealing with stupid, dumb statues that can't breathe or talk. The demons knew in advance that the Hebrews, they would teach, and so invented similar myths and rites. That's when they fell astray and began to take on these evil codes, as it still remains here today. Such as the story, of Perseus was born a version of Mithras, which ain't nothing but another name for Nimrod in the concept of the Persian Empire. Use of baptism. Let's continue. The demons, the invisible forces, which people deny do it exist, they provoke hatred. That's why there's hatred inside our families. That's why the man and the woman can't get along. That's why you have this nuclear explosion of all these different divisions. The Egyptology fighting against the Creator. The Israelites, not all, fighting against each other. So on and so forth. The so-called atheist bootleg Nimrodism concept, acting as if this is something new. Demons, they promote hatred, and that's all this does. It teaches us to hate each other. Lies, and it teaches us to tell lies, and false accusations, against the Hebrews, and devise and encourage the pagan persecution. This is the same thing that Nimrod did. This is the same thing that Nero Caesar did. And this is the same path that you brothers and sisters that are following, jumping on the bandwagon of this thing that you call atheism, you're following and continuing where Nimrod left off, trying to give it a Renaissance false definition what atheism is really about. Going back to the evil Gnostics of past time, which the historical understand pertaining to 1 John the 4th chapter, he was battling against, a Gnostic evil sect. And he gave us certain advice to believe not every spirit, but try the spirit by the spirit. And then you jump down to 1 John the 4th chapter. And it says, every spirit that confess not that the King of Kings is come in the flesh is not of the Almighty Father, Creator. And this is what you Gnostics, 21st century, atheists are following. You're continuing where those evil Israelite Gnostics left off in past tense. Brother John, statement that's recorded in 1 John chapter 2:18 and 1 John the 4th chapter. He was battling against a first century Gnostic evil clan that was promoting satanic lies, such as what we're going to read right now, which you so-called atheists are following this same evil code. There's a mystery history pertaining to what was taking place to make John make such statements. That's recorded in 1 John the 4th chapter and 1 John 2:18. They will usually contend that John is battling first century Gnosticism. No, he was battling first century evil Gnostic liars, demons, deceivers. That was saying that the King of Kings did not exist. Some of the Gnostics says the King of Kings had a phantom body. The Antichrist denied that the King of Kings was the Son of the Most High, in the flesh, which 1 John chapter 2:18, to verse 19 to 22, 1 John chapter 4, verse 2 to 3, 14:15, 5:20, 2 John, and the 7th verse. It is so that John in 1 John the 4th chapter and 1 John chapter 2:18, he was contending with these false teachers like you atheists here today who denied that the King of Victory had become flesh. He also dealt with the ramifications, of all these teachings of their doctrines, such as this other Gnostic devil by the name of Marcion. Yes, who was born in Pontus, which is a port on the Black Sea. And this is his concept of lies. Marcion taught the existence of two gods, calling the incompetent creator. He said the creator of the universe was incompetent, the creator of the laws. Also, these wicked Gnostics, they were saying, for the Gnostics, the serpent is the wisest of all creatures. And that's pretty much where Helena Blavatsky adopted her concept from in the 1800s, because the Gnostics of the 1st and 2nd century were way before Helena Blavatsky. This is nothing but recycled wickedness. And this is Helena Blavatsky's copycat concept, which she adopted, from the 1st and 2nd century evil Hebrew Gnostics in her book called The Secret Doctrines. One of the most hidden secrets involved the so-called fall of angels. Satan and his rebellious hosts will thus prove to have become the direct savior and creators of divine man. So basically she's saying that the serpent, the demon world, is the creator of you and me. Reverse psychology. She got this from the Gnostics, which you so-called atheists today are following the same path. Proverbs chapter 12 verse 15, the fool is right in his own eyes. Proverbs chapter 14 verse 12, there's a way that seems right unto man, just like Nimrod, but the end is death. So we have entered the battle of the soul with all its weapons of great mass deception, such as this book called The Deception and Myth of the Bible, written by this man by the name of Lloyd Graham around 1975. And he said the planets were once suns, the different planets. And he said our sun will someday burn out and become planets. On page 390, he stated that the King of Kings was not a real person, but he represents a higher aspect of evolution consciousness. On page 2, he stated that everything in the scriptures is to be false. That's why the scrolls of Enoch already predicted they was going to do these things before their time, which the scrolls of Enoch was translated, in what they call the Aramaic language during the time of Babylon, which predicted the comings of these deceivers, all the way from ancient Babylonian times and prior. Enoch chapter 1:16-24. Woe to you who write down the words of falsehood, such as this individual by the name of Lloyd M. Graham from his book called Deception and Myth of the Bible. On page 19, he said that there is no law pertaining to nature. On page 31, he said that Lucifer is the creator. On page 4, Lloyd Graham states that we must return to the aforesaid pre-religion mythology. In other words, we must return to the knowledge of the ancient satanic Babylonians, Samaritans, Egyptians, zodiac, human blood killing babies to worship a idol called Molech. the ancient recordings of the prophecy of Enoch going all the way back to the Babylonian Empire time and prior. Woe to you who write down the words of falsehood and the words of the wicked, for their falsehood they record, that they may hear and not forget folly. Floyd Graham says there's no truth inside the Testament, okay, of the scrolls, okay, of the Hebrews. The scrolls of Enoch predicted this before his time, all the way back to the time of Babylon and prior. It says, in those days, they who become pregnant, like pregnant women, shall go forth and carry off their children, like some mothers are forsaking their kids and leaving them on the street corner, and forsake their offspring, like abortion. This was told way before his time in ancient time. Shall slip from them, and while suckling them, shall they forsaken them, and they shall never return to them, because some of them shall kill them and never instruct their beloved. That's why the kids are going wild and crazy, because they never instruct their kids with moralistic values and principles and teach them how to be a man and a woman. And if I'm wrong, I'm more willing to take correction. But as we connect the dots, we see where this trickery is coming from. So we have to battle and fight for the truth. We have to do our own personal investigation. Of course, this message is not for everybody, because there's only a few people that's going to respect the Almighty Father Creator, just like in ancient times. And you can look up this information for yourself and do your own personal investigation. Okay, type in the dark powers that bind Sect 2 Egypt. Actually, it is much more that the fact that the Mesopotamian, pertaining to the Babylonians and the Samaritans, had an influence on Egypt, which they will deny. That's why they playing 3-card Molly, okay, switching the timetable dates with the kingdoms upside down, or may have given them their ideas, which is true. There is no maybe about it. Let us continue. The Mesopotamian, talking about the Samaritans and the Babylonians, traditions are found at the deepest root of Egyptian concept, which is so true, which they will deny, especially in their religion, not religion, their practice of lifestyle, which they adopted. And architect, Egyptian family obviously brought their own unique languages with them from Babel. They may have developed a different artistic style to depict their god, which was nothing but an idol statue created with a folklore fairy tale to go along with it, and given them names, talking about the idols, in their own tongue, and altered, meaning changed their styles. They might have beautified the so-called idol and enhanced the idol's image in appearance to suit the Egyptians' taste, but their gods are the same old Mesopotamian deities.